Real people, real interviews.
I just have to say that I object strenuously to your use of the word hilarious.
Hard-hitting questions.
What do you think about feminism? Do you like it?
Taking you to the cutting edge of truth.
Yeah, well, Last Jedi is one of the worst movies ever made, and it was very clear that Rian Johnson doesn't like Star Wars.
Kyle pulls no punches.
I want to ask how you're able to sleep at night.
Ethan brings bone-shattering common sense from the top rope.
If I may, how double dare you?
This is the Babylon Bee Interview Show.
All right, and we are here in the interview studio at Babylon Bee headquarters with the voice of the Babylon Bee. You know him as the guy who says Flowerbed. This is Dave DeAndrea, my old friend, Dave DeAndrea. Hi, Dave.
Underlined old. Hey, guys, how are you?
How you doing? How you doing, Dave?
How you doing?
I'm doing
talk
great.
Sultry and
I feel like I need to...
more masculine?
Yeah, because it's like Kermit the Frog and squeaky voice, and now we're talking to Dave, and it's just... I'm intimidated.
Yeah. I used to...
No, don't do that.
I've known Dave since I was in like Young Life. He was on the local Christian radio station in my hometown. A small town in Oregon. I don't know if I want to dox us by telling the exact date, the exact city, because it's a pretty small city, but probably already have at some point. But it's a small town. And I remember I'd hear Dave's voice on the radio station, the Christian radio station. I was a brand new Christian. And so I started listening to Christian radio because that was the kind of radio to listen to if you wanted to go to heaven. And this voice would come on every once in a while. It was like this great voice. Like I wanted him to read me bedtime stories.
Wait, what year was this? What year?
Yeah, when was it? Probably 99, 98, 99 or something. I don't know. Or in 99, maybe right around 2000 because I was just getting out of high school, I think.
So it was like, listen to this new hit from Audio Adrenaline.
Yeah.
Big House.
Wait, Dave, can you just snap back to K-Light and then give me like just a sample of something you would say into the mic in those days?
Oh, boy. Well, your early day, I probably would have been on the afternoon show at that point, which was a 2-hour window of time where we played more progressive Christian music like Audio Adrenaline.
Progressive. Prog.
That's fantastic that they were ever considered progressive music.
It was a Wayne Watson free zone, at that time. It was
the cutting edge.
It was the cutting edge. Yeah, it was. Well, it took many names. I think it was the Bright Side, then it was the Bright Side Cutting Edge, and I think we just ended up on the Edge at some point. But
you guys played a lot of 5 Iron Frenzy. I remember that. You guys played that.
We tried to slip in some of that and MXPX sometimes and things like that. And
they played our band one time. I can't remember who
we
that
did.
Was. Yeah, who played our band one time on K-Light? Like we came in and they interviewed us and we did one song. They played one song from our album. I can't remember.
From Lunar Active?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I don't know if that might have been me.
I can't remember if that was you or not. Yeah. It's all a blur.
I'm sure it was amazing.
Yeah. But so yeah, you're like, welcome to the Edge. Right? How do you?
Yeah, boy, it's been a few years now. Let's see. Throw on the DJ, I think. Yeah. The thing is, with being on the radio, is I went through my early years of trying to sound like other really great DJs that I knew and wanted to emulate, and quickly realized I better just be myself. And so it was mostly just talking like this. I don't think there was a whole lot of hype involved. Especially when you're working in Christian radio, you kind of have to empty yourself of yourself and just be a real person. And so I don't know if I landed there or not, but so it probably wouldn't have sounded a whole lot different than me just talking right now. Hey, good afternoon. You're listening to the Cutting Edge. Here's Audio Adrenaline. Big house, it was not a big deal.
But what about like where there's music like where it's like you're listening,
lasers?
Yeah. What would be like a slogan for the cutting edge 90s rock, Christian
well,
rock
like
show?
Air One growing up was always like the positive alternative.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But the DJs were always so happy, like supernaturally happy. I always felt like, they'd get fired if they said something negative on the air.
You know, and I think that was probably a carryover from other stuff. And some stations still do that. And I think they, there's a place, I guess, for being bummed out and doing things. But different DJs have different styles and different areas. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like a guy named Brant Hansen, who's he's kind of syndicated all over now, but he's kind of one of those real down to earth, real guys. He's not hype. I mean, they have fun, but he's just kind of being real. And I think things are leaning more towards that and more kind of a little more human, to where it's not fakey and everything's okay all the time, because everything's not okay all the time. Sometimes you go through rough stuff, and I think people appreciate when you're real. So. Although that can be abused for sure.
Yeah.
Some people, will say just use. I'm getting off on a total tangent here already.
No,
How many minutes are we into this already? Sorry.
No, it's a good track.
Using that, even just that phrase, I'm just being real, just keeping it real. And
you can get away with a lot.
Which is like
just being real, man.
I'm just being vulnerable here, man.
Yeah.
Just being transparent.
I feel like maybe our reality should be more like the good stuff, and not like the keeping it real equals the bad stuff I'm doing.
Like people will look
I'm
at
worshiping Jesus right now. I'm just keeping it real, as
people
opposed
look
to
at the shiny, because I think of, when I think of like a Christian radio DJ, they're like the guy that's like, and the Son of God. I can't do the voice. Like, he died for you on the cross. Like when they say it, like in that like disc jockey voice, really weird to me. But the reaction of kind of the 90s grunge generation, I think, and further back than that, probably started in the 60s, really was like, that polished newscaster Johnny Carson, I don't even Leave It to Beaver type of everybody's clean cut and nice.
Right.
The reaction is to act like being real is to be the opposite of whatever that is. And
right.
But that's not real either. Real is one of those words that I hate, because it could mean anything. It's kind of like the word progressive or progressive. There's other ones, but that one gets to me, because it doesn't mean anything. Like what's progressive? What are we progressing towards? Like we won't put a name on it, And real. What is real if we won't define what our terms are? So it's more like an excuse to do what we want to do.
Yeah, and I still like. I like listening to DJs like that. Still, sometimes there aren't very many left out there, but some of those. Like old, sound my age here, but some of those old timey DJs.
Yeah.
They're one of my all time favorite DJs. This guy named Bill Lee, and he's on. I think he's still on. He's been all over, but WCBS FM out of New York, and he's been there for forever. And he was kind of one of these guys who would rhyme a lot of things and just have tons of energy, and just one of those cool radio guys that I tried to emulate, and would listen back to my air checks after a show, listen back to the recordings. I'm like, I sound like an idiot. I don't sound like him at all. I better just
any of these recordings.
Any of his recordings?
Any of these year-old recordings?
Of my old, yeah, I've got, in fact, underneath my my desk here, I've got a box full of old cassettes that some of which I've tried to transfer to digital and listen to, but it's pretty embarrassing stuff. I don't revel in those old years very much.
So I get this image, you're this this voiceover guy, get this nice rich voice. So when you were like 5 years old, you hadn't said any words up to this point, and all of a sudden you just start talking in this rich, like, baritone voice, and then your parents go,
mother, I would like a lollipop,
and they go, He's the chosen one. He's destined to be in radio.
Yeah, that's how it works out with all talents. You're 5, and then all of a sudden you can draw really well. It takes no effort.
Yeah.
It takes, there's no work involved, right? Right, Dave?
No, there's no, you just turn on the mic and start talking. It's really,
That's what we do.
Yeah. Seems to be working. No, I don't know. I don't remember much from when I was 5, so that could have been how it went, but I don't think that's how it happened. I never thought really a whole lot about, I think maybe early on I thought about maybe being a radio DJ. I loved listening to the radio and calling and pestering the DJs and requesting songs over and over and over until they would finally play them and then call them immediately afterwards and request it again. I just played it. What is wrong with you, kid? But, trying to fill up a cassette, a tape full of the same song over and over again.
It's crazy that we have to tell our kids about this time when we had to call into a radio station.
Yeah.
To hear the song we want.
It was exciting.
I know. Now it's like, Siri, play this song. Boom, right there.
Yeah. We have our own radio stations.
Yeah. Does Siri do that? Maybe I'm thinking of Alexa. They're related. Anyway, you know what I mean.
You just made everybody's phone start doing something.
Yeah.
I try and do that to my daughter when I'm on FaceTime with her because they've got their lights in the house all set up for Siri. So I'll Siri, turn off the lights. Try and turn off the lights for him. But
you just did it.
Did I do that at yours? Sorry.
No. Anybody listening to this podcast that has Siri and lights, it's going to do it.
Yeah.
Just did it to him.
Let's try it. Siri, play Big House by Audio Adrenaline.
Thank you for your service.
So I imagine that Dave didn't. I think probably in high school, he was like, "Oh man, I can't wait to go on a date with Susie." And
there was just the sun.
Hey,
the clouds parted, the sun shone down.
His voice just took
that all occurred
crack.
Within 5 minutes. It was just like this very quick boom.
Couple cracks. You cleared your throat.
Yeah. Hi there. Yeah.
Was it a matter of
I'm sorry.
like, was your voice kind of rich and nice like early on, and people were like, "Hey man, you should do radio," and you're like, "Oh yeah, maybe I should," or was it radio's cool, I'm going to work on getting a rich voice?
No, and it's funny because I don't think of myself or describe myself as that way. I just hear myself.
I have a very rich voice.
Talking, yeah. So when people say things like that, I'm kind of like, come on, because there are other guys with great voices who you always compare yourself, I guess, to somebody else, and it's like, okay, I'm no, James Earl Jones or whoever whoever the icons are.
That's the one you go for. The deepest voice in existence.
Well, he's kind of upper echelon for sure.
Mufasa.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
pretty iconic.
He's iconic. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You compare yourself to.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
My voice, my voice isn't that deep.
I thought you were saying that James Earl Jones isn't that good. You were like,
oh no,
really, James Earl Jones?
No.
I'm just like, you don't want to get as low as James Earl Jones. Like, he's got that market cornered.
Right. It's like I'm not as funny as Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
It's like who you compare to the very best.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Yeah, so so it wasn't ever a thing. I don't know that anybody ever said, "Wow, you should be on radio. You've got a great voice." Because but when I started in radio, I kind of went from being this was the 80s, and so breakdancing was big. So I started off trying to be a breakdancer and not being very good, and so I got into the DJing part instead.
Can you spin on your head?
No.
What was your hairstyle like?
Oh, well, it varied, but for the most part, it was in some way, shape, or form pretty mullet-like. That evolved over time, but it was.
I guess that makes sense. I never thought of it because in the 80s, so many people had mullets, and there's a lot of people breakdancing, so there'd be some crossover there. There'd be guys with mullets breakdancing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Not just for rednecks anymore.
Yeah.
I wonder what that Venn diagram looks like. Mullets.
Yeah, because I was imagining Dave with that Kid and Play hairdo, where like it's like a shrub, it's like chopped off on top, like a flat.
Just the straight up, big, like flat top.
Big high top. Yeah.
What do you call it?
No, never had one of those. I don't think. No, I couldn't pull that off. But anyway, all that to say, I got into DJing, and then into DJing in these under 21 dance clubs, meeting some local radio DJs who would come down there every once in a while, and kind of at the age of 15-ish or so, kind of finally bothered them enough to where they let me try it out, and had a lot of fun. This is back when we're playing actual records and having to queue them up and kind of doing everything live, and it was a lot of fun.
For the millennials listening, what is a record?
Well, it came in a variety of sizes and speeds that you'd have to play it at. There was a 45 with a big hole, and then in the middle, and then there was a 33 and a third, which was kind of a anyway.
You should explain it in the potato guy voice. I like your potato guy voice.
Simply Potatoes.
This is just us sitting here,
Mr. Potato Head. You're talking about the Simply Okay.
This is just us sitting here, like poking Dave with a stick. Like, do something funny. Say something funny.
A while ago, I had a friend, a teacher friend, who was teaching overseas in Korea, and every year she would do this Skype call with me with the kids. I think they were like maybe 5th grade, 6th grade kids, and she was very into Axe Cop, and so she'd play a lot of the Axe Cop stuff for the kids. And
nice.
And they would come up and they'd ask me to do stuff I'd never even done, before, these impersonations. And it was just the biggest disappointment. You could see it in their faces. Like, can you do Iron Man? I don't do Robert Downey Jr. I'm sorry.
I get that. Yeah, I get that too. Like, people think I can just out of my head draw every cartoon character because I draw my own cartoon characters.
Right.
So a kid will come to me like, draw me, some obscure character, whatever. And even ones that I know, like Iron Man, like, there's details in his armor and stuff that if you don't get like the eyes the right amount, like apart, and the sizes and all the proportions right, it immediately looks off because you've seen that icon so many times, but you've never tried to draw it. None of us, very few of us have. So I'll draw some wonky, ridiculous looking Iron Man or whatever. And they walk away very disappointed.
Yeah.
Shattered.
They're even more shattered when I draw Iron Man.
Unless they have any expectations.
Yeah, they have no expectations.
Because they're looking at my other drawings and they're like, oh, this guy is a professional. And then it's just, So I hate it. Actually, I do. I loathe it when people ask me to draw other people's characters. But that's a side quest.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's some people who make a great living doing really good impersonations of people. I do one or two and they're okay, but that's not really, I don't do a lot of, what they call ADR work, or, if they can't get the, Dwayne The Rock Johnson or somebody to redo his line, or they need to fill it in for something, they'll have somebody who sounds like him do it. And I don't do a lot of that work, but.
Have you done any?
But,
ever?
What's that?
Have you ever done any?
I've tried some, but for the impersonations that I do, there are already kind of these go-to guys in Hollywood that, there's plenty of guys, who can fill in for Morgan Freeman or, these other people, to where they're not really looking for anybody else to do it. They've kind of got their guys. They know, okay, we need to call Tom Kane or whoever they're going to call who does that really well. And so mine's just more of a party trick.
That's a pretty cool party trick, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the rides at Disneyland when they have the cartoon characters talking, it's clearly not them.
Yeah.
It's like not even close.
Sad.
Yeah.
Kyle would know. He goes
just
Disneyland,
watching the new
7 days a week.
That's true.
They've got new episode of Star Wars Clone Wars out on Disney Plus, since I was watching the first one, and I hadn't really watched a whole lot of those, but I don't know who does it, but they do a good job. But it's like Samuel L. Jackson is a very distinctive, very specific voice, and it's like you could tell that Mace Windu is like, that is not Samuel L. Jackson. Sounds good.
Have you,
sir? I have heard Samuel L. Jackson, and you are no Samuel L. Jackson.
And I don't mean to insult that guy, whoever's doing it at all, because he's doing a good job. But it's just such a distinctive voice. It's like, and I don't think that they're necessarily trying to do a perfect emulation of any of those actors or characters. They kind of have made it their own with Clone Wars over the years and have done a great job. But yeah, you're right. Like you said, it's like you can tell from a movie version versus being at Disneyland. It's like that's, or even I don't want to spoil it for any kids, but it's not the real Cinderella. It's or
the real Cinderella would be like a German woman from like a long time ago.
Is that where she went? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, plus she's a cartoon, so
yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I had a question. I lost it. What was it? Yeah, I don't know.
I'm rabbit trailing all over here. Sorry,
it's a good thing you're not running.
Actually answered any of your questions.
I had something. Oh yeah, have you worked on your Samuel L. Jackson?
No, that's not one that I've tried.
It's funnier to us because we know that Dave he's one of the best people on earth. He won't you are very strict on what you will say and what you won't say. Like anything that comes close to a swear, you're like, nope, not doing it. And I highly respect that. But then that's what I crack up at you attempting to do a Samuel L. Jackson impression, like just stepping through a minefield.
It would. It's like I'd have to drop a flowerbed bomb or two if I was gonna.
Yeah, massive garden.
I've had enough
beds.
of these flower bedding snakes.
Yeah,
on this flower bedding plane.
That whole thing too is so funny to me. I don't know what because I don't read all the reviews or comments, and that you guys told me that's something that it's taken off is just so funny to me. I mean, that was your idea. It's like, let's just have him say a bunch of these. The
funny thing was actually the idea for the flowerbed joke came from Ben.
One of our guests, Ben Howe.
Yeah. Okay. He was actually a guest because a lot of our fans are Trump fans, and he was kind of an anti-Trump guy. So a lot of people weren't really happy with the interview.
They did not like the episode.
But he provided with them with flowerbeds, so it's a good picture of how the Lord uses the evil.
the evil anti-Trump?
The good and the evil.
Okay.
I'm using it myself. I was at my daughter's basketball game the other day, and I was uttering a flowerbed or two.
You really do that? You sit there and go, flowerbed.
Well, my son was there and he knew, he's a big fan of the podcast too. So I was just doing it to make him laugh mostly. But
I have instructed Ethan to make a t-shirt that says, I flower bedding love the Babylon Bee podcast. And Ethan is dragging his feet.
It's not on my list anywhere. So I got to get it on the list somewhere.
If you don't send him an email or an invite.
The main thing I'm working on right now is the book. So I think it's not the book. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I ignore it.
So we need to release this shirt in tandem with the Dave DeAndrea episode.
That's a good idea.
Because I'll
get it out there.
So listeners, you can now go on our store
by Friday
and buy this shirt.
Exclusive podcast shirt
if Ethan
that
did
only
this job.
people that listen to the podcast will get, and you will walk around and wear it, and everyone will have to ask you, and you'll have to be ready with an answer.
Yeah,
that's
just
right.
as Paul says.
You have to be ready to give an answer for the hope that is in you.
That is on that
in
dumb
season
shirt
and out of season. That's right. I'm a big fan of novelty t-shirts, so that is definitely one I would wear. So
I'm actually always surprised what people buy.
Yeah,
in a t-shirt. I'm like, I would never buy that as a t-shirt, but
it feels like throwing. What do you throw at a wall? What's the analogy? You throw something at the wall to see if it sticks. What's the item?
You just throw things.
No, I thought there was an item like bacon or something. I don't know.
Spaghetti? Spaghetti. No, it's to see if it's cooked. I don't know.
Throw it at the wall and see.
Throwing stuff at the wall, see what sticks. I guess I don't know. But yeah, with t-shirt designs, I'm like, I have no idea if anybody will. It's completely unpredictable to me.
I think the hope that was in you thing was Peter, by the way.
Oh, oops.
I just wanted, because I know I'm going to get an email about.
Yeah, we're gonna.
You called you called the dwarves hobbits in our last episode.
The dwarves
in the Hobbit book. You said that he's the cute hobbit or something. I mean, you were talking about Thorin the dwarf.
Oh yeah, they're not. He's not a hobbit. He's a dwarf.
Angry emails about it.
Oh, oops. Yeah, he is a dwarf.
And I just kept going with it. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I know. I'm talking about how much I love Tolkien.
I called him the hot hobbit.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
And there's a little wiggle room when it comes to, hobbits and things. Well, not for big fans, but when you're quoting the Bible, you kind of want to get it right, more often than not. And
brutal, savage.
But I was quoting it to be a dork, though.
Yeah, no.
Speaking of t-shirts, Ethan, I don't know if you recall the t-shirt I had you make years ago for me.
No, the way we met, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but the way we met was you were on the morning show on that Christian radio station with another guy named Rick. Mm-hmm. And I attempted to, you thought, you guys, just as the kid who thinks I can draw Iron Man, thought, oh, this guy can draw cartoons. He could draw caricatures of us. Right. Caricature is it's its own specific, way. But I was also like, I could figure it out because I need money. So I did my best. I tried my hardest to draw you guys, and I couldn't not draw the other guy. I drew you fine, I believe. But for some reason, no matter how I tried, I drew Rick, and he looked evil every time I drew him. His eyes looked evil. He had snarling nostrils, little beady eyes. He looked like the Joker. And you guys kept trying to nicely say, like, can you make him not look evil?
Did you take those devil horns
all
off
the time? Why is he so angry? Well, he was under a lot of stress in that time period too. So no, yeah, I have a very, I think probably caricature easy, features. You can get a goatee and glasses, and you just kind of work from there. But
yeah, if you have a hairstyle,
clean shaven,
glasses and goatee, you can actually draw those things without a face, and people know who it is. Like it's just like the Bernie hair and glasses. You know who it is when you see it. When you do caricatures, you thank a person if they have those standout features. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. No, yeah. And so, that's not the t-shirt I was thinking of, but I think we did end up using your, I thought we did. Maybe we didn't. Maybe it was somebody else. But
I could have swore you ended up going with somebody else for that drawing or brick because it just never worked out. Because I always remember those failures in life.
Might have been. But then this was a few years later when some friends and I decided to none of us were bowlers, but decided to do a summer bowling league, social bowling league. And so I said, we should get a t-shirt made. And we came up with the brilliant name of Grace to Spare. Because, spare and bowling. But we wanted it to be Christian, too.
I got it.
And we ended up, if you have to explain it, maybe it's not that brilliant. Anyway, we ended up winning because our handicaps were so huge for the season. But anyway, had Ethan come down. And so he did this amazing caricature of the four of us with a big Grace to Spare there and bowling, and it was amazing. And I'm sure I've still got that drawing around here somewhere. But
wow, I barely remember that name. I cannot remember the drawing in my head if I tried.
Yeah, one guy was he crouched down kind of weird like a cat. So you had him kind of down in a cougar pose, and another guy had golf clubs, and it was a wonder to behold.
I'm glad you guys liked it. I think I was happy to make up for the Rick and Dave failure.
Yeah.
Rick and Dave in the morning.
Yeah, exactly what it's called. Rick
really?
And Dave
that was, yeah.
So what do you look like?
In fact, I always went by David before that. That was the first time I started going by Dave.
Rick and David in the mornings doesn't work. It's got to be Rick and David.
It doesn't. And I just thought before that I was always David D. David D.
David D. Oh, that might work. David D. Yeah, you're. I was kind of wondering though what you actually look like because I guess I don't know.
He looks kind of like you. If you were a little bigger with glasses,
Kyle. If you were more attractive.
No.
So because you always hear these rich voices on the radio, and then it ends up being like this 5 foot tall bald guy. Yeah. So I was just curious. Are you like that? I kind of picture you like who's the guy that voices Kronk?
Oh, Patrick Warburton.
Yeah, that's kind of how I picture you. Is that how you look?
He kind of. I mean, he has a goatee like you. Like he has the same.
I can just Google him, but I want you to paint a mental picture.
There's a drawing of him too. I don't know if you still use my caricature I did of you for your logo, but I did Dave drawings. I gave him a giant.
That's when I first got on Facebook and first started doing stuff. I used your caricature.
Yeah, they're showing me a picture of you right now.
Looking. He's examining.
Okay, this didn't shatter. This didn't shatter my image of you. It just didn't ruin my.
He's a big teddy bear of a man.
Appreciation for you or anything.
I'm no Patrick Warburton, I'll tell you that.
I love Patrick Warburton, man. That's ticking.
He does one of the.
I was just explaining to somebody the just how funny he is and how the Seinfeld episode where he and Elaine are on the plane and he's just content just staring forward at nothing, the whole time. And yeah, that's right. He's so funny.
Great. He does the ride intro for one of the rides at Disneyland. He's on the video. Yeah. He's on the video screen doing it. It's great.
Yeah. Isn't it flying over California or soaring over the world?
Yeah. Soaring over the world now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some voices that you have done, Dave? Like just for people to know, I know because I find it amazing because I lived in the same little town as you. I moved out to LA, and then suddenly I'm like hearing your voice on TV and on the radio, and because I know your voice. Mm-hmm. And so do some name dropping right now. Let's hear some of the voices you've done.
Well, and when you say voices, that makes people think it's like characters or whatever. But like,
not that.
But like
brands,
products, and things. I'm looking on my own website here right now. It's like, what have I done? There was an ad. There was an ad for this app game called Game of War a few years ago. I did that. That was almost kind of a Morgan Freeman, Liam Neeson blend of a voice I did there. Drug company like Repatha, I did that. Go RVing. You mentioned Simply Potatoes. I do AAA. Some car dealerships. I'm on something newer. As of last year, I'm the narrator on this show on the Investigation Discovery channel called Murder Tapes, which is on Wednesday nights, and that's a fun new adventure. And trick is just to make everybody sound guilty. It's kind of fun.
Those Investigation Discovery shows, like, it drives me crazy. The ones where it's about like women that murder or couples, and they get like this sassy, sultry woman to do the voice, and she's like, he was about to get, I don't know, there's like, she's talking about a person being murdered, and she's making this like really bad pun about like, he was about to have to cut it out or something. I don't know. Bad slicing joke.
They hit him with a sledgehammer or something, and it'll be like,
that was a no-brainer.
This was her biggest smash hit yet.
Yeah. It's like really disturbing to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was wondering
you don't see a lot of that on the Murder Tapes there. It's okay. A good show.
It's pretty good. Okay. So you're standing behind it.
What's funny is in the last year, I try, because I have hope because of the Lord in my life. I feel like, most of the time I sound kind of hopeful, but there was a little season, where like back to back, I got a couple of these jobs to voice things that was like, one was like there was this, suicide awareness campaign. And so I was the voice the voice of suicide, basically, and kind of what suicide says to you and all this kind of stuff. And right after that, I got a job where I was the voice of pediatric cancer.
Wait, you were the voice of suicide, and you're the voice of suicide. So you say what suicide says, like,
it's kind of like, I don't remember exactly how it goes.
What was your
the pediatric
voice?
Cancer one is on my website. It's called Don't Give Up or something like that. And it's just mean. It's like talking to kids like, don't even bother getting up, and it's hopeless. And I mean, just this really dark stuff, And, I'm glad to be part of the campaigns and do that. But I just felt like I'm suddenly the voice of hopelessness. I'm going to put it on my business card and black background. And
Dave DeAndrea, voice of cancer.
Voice of
That's right.
cancer and children.
And suicide.
I just love that. Well, I also love the idea of being a writer. Like, you're writing lines of like, okay, if I was child cancer, what would I say?
Yeah.
I'm staring this kid in the eyes. That's dark.
Yeah. Well, I think that probably, that's coming from, these hospitals and places, where people are dealing with that every day. And so they know what they're going through and what it feels like. And the things were well written. It wasn't, trying to be jokey or anything.
Yeah. Sorry. We're not trying to. We joke about everything.
I'm just saying, it's like, I don't know how you would.
Dave's slowly scooting away from us as we make jokes about cancer and suicide. He's going to start adding into his outro, like, Dave DeAndrea does not endorse anything that was said on this
opinions expressed.
I'm Dave DeAndrea, and I do not approve this message.
Well, I remember you were on the Battleship game, and that landed you a interview on Rhett and Link podcast.
Yes. And thank you again for giving me something to give to them with the Axe Cop drawings that you did for the guys. But that was a weird thing. My family was fans of watching Good Mythical Morning with Rhett and Link, and wasn't really aware that they had several other channels or things they did besides Good Mythical Morning, but a friend of my wife's texted her one time and said, I think Rhett and Link are talking about Dave. And it was their kind of after show, Good Mythical More, where they were playing Battleship and this electronic Battleship. It's like the board game, but it has voices and stuff on it. And they had commented how much they liked this voice that I did, but didn't know who it was. Even went so far as to say, we need to find this guy. And I didn't know because we didn't find out about it till months later. And so by the time I was able to connect with them, I thought, oh, they're past this, probably don't even remember it. But it worked out to where I came down and did one of their Ear Biscuits podcasts and had a lot of fun. And in fact, just before I was going to talk to you guys, my wife was saying, you've got to have something prepared, just like you did for Rhett and Link. You have to have.
Oh, yeah. What did you have?
Well,
oh, yeah, that was funny.
For them, I had I used this app that kind of you could store different little sound bites and kind of play them at a punch type thing.
Yeah.
And so I'd recorded these different things. I really studied the episode where they were talking about me, and so I referred back to that and kind of played back some of the phrases that they said, oh, it'd be great to hear Dave say this or whatever, and did that, and just had a lot of fun with it. And because otherwise it's, I'm not always real good on the spot. And I think they were just going to have me probably do an imaginary commentary on what they were eating or something. And I said, well, let me.
So you were the voice. So you were you sunk my battleship, but what printing of this board game was it?
Suddenly Kyle's
when I originally did it, I didn't even know it was going to be the board game. I thought when I got it, I thought it was going to be like a handheld or maybe an app or something. I didn't know, but it's myself and a few other voices, nobody who I know or met, but
you weren't all in the same room.
No, it was.
They actually took you out on a battleship so you could get into the atmosphere.
Yeah, really get into the role. Yeah, no, it was the battle has begun. It was very similar to the Babylon Bee intro, actually. That's the voice they liked, and it was funny because commenting, tons of people on there said, I'm the voice guy you were looking for. It's like, you are not. Anyway.
It's a funny episode. I recommend people check it out.
We took a trip to Burbank, wherever they were, and it was a lot of fun.
Cool. Yes. I don't know and this is a total side note, but I heard they just did a podcast where they said they've gone agnostic. Did you hear about this?
Yeah.
I'm not
it was very
showdown. I didn't listen to it. I didn't listen to it, but I just heard that.
I don't know who this is. Who are we talking about?
Rhett and Link. They're massive on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I'm not into the YouTube
these
world.
Are, and I love those guys, genuinely. And, I had heard, and I knew that they had done work, with Christian Ministries.
Yeah. With Phil Vischer. And the way I first heard of them was the church I was going to in Hollywood. When I moved here, I went to like a hipster Hollywood church for a little while, trying to find a wife, and then immediately leave the church. But a mutual friend had said, "Hey, do you know who Rhett and Link are?" He was Australian. I don't know. I talk like that. Hi.
Rhett and Link are?
Yeah. They're like, hey, they love Axe Cop. They want to let you know that they're big fans or whatever. I'm like, oh, cool. Thanks. I'll look up their videos because I didn't know they were. And later I was like, oh, they're big. Wow, they're really big. I was looking at the numbers like, holy cow, I should have milked that better. But
so they actually went to the church? You were saying?
I think they went to that one. I went to a different one, but they were through another mutual Christian friend. And they because everybody always tells you like, oh yeah, these guys are Christians or whatever. Anyway, so that's how I first heard about it. And I saw them on, Phil Vischer has a thing called What's in the Bible, and they sing a song on one of his things on there.
Yeah, they were actually, I can't remember the names of these characters they did, but they would do these songs about Bible stories or remembering the books of the Bible names and those types of things. And so we didn't really talk a lot about spiritual things when I was down there, I mean, I think the most, I maybe have asked afterwards, how can we pray for you guys? And they, just kind of said something like, let's pray for direction for us for this year or whatever. But we recently watched, I think they had like a series of several things where they were recapping their missionary years and all these kinds of things. But the ones that I watched were more of a spiritual deconstruction. And for me, and for my family, it was just, I don't know, it's just really heartbreaking. And it's something that, these guys have gone from, Rhett was, leading Bible studies for his church, very involved. I mean, church work was their livelihood. I mean, it's what they were about. And over the course of time, questions arose, and it's kind of one of those difficult situations where I don't think there's anything that I could say that they hadn't already thought through or would anticipate or have heard that would change their mind about the direction that they've gone. But it was really it was just sad to hear how for Rhett in particular, he kind of shared his first, and then the following week Link shared his, and this is really putting it into a nutshell, but how it started from just this seed of questioning perhaps the age of the earth and that kind of stuff, and how that grew to questioning, maybe considering evolution, then questioning whether Adam and Eve really even existed, then questioning whether really any of the stories in the Old Testament were true, and to finally, as much as they said they didn't want to go there, to really even questioning whether the resurrection was a thing or not, really happened or not.
Wow.
And I just, it was this gradual progression over, I think, maybe a decade for those guys. It wasn't just all of a sudden they woke up and said, I just don't believe this anymore. But, and they seem,
it's weird how usually like one guy drops off. It's weird that they did it together. I guess they were just, they're that linked up.
Yeah. Well, and they've been best friends, and this was, with their, I mean, having to go through this with their wives, and maybe their wives not being on board with where they were going at first. But to me, in fact, I was just, my wife and I facilitate a Bible study for high schoolers. And I had a chance to share the other night, and it was just, to me, it just really started with, literally the oldest trick in the book being the Bible, and the oldest trick being Satan saying, did God really say? Because from that little seed of doubt, you go on from questioning God's word to questioning God's motives to questioning God's existence altogether. And I feel like that's maybe what has happened with those guys. I don't know for sure. And I'm not here saying they're no longer Christians or they never were Christians. I don't know that. My hope is that, that they'll circle back around. Their story's not done. But I think for a lot of us, I think Satan's got a pretty thin playbook. I think if he can get us to question God's word, or, well, it could be interpreted this way, or, in the Greek, maybe it means this, or and you start letting that doubt come in, and it's just a very stunning, sad example of where that can end up, and so, I pray for those guys, and it's not like they're, seem sad or anything. I mean, they've gone on with their life, but I hope that they'll circle back around. That's my prayer.
So old earth creationism, diet atheism.
Or at least agnosticism.
Yeah, and I don't know that they're necessarily saying there is no God. I think right now they're kind of in an I don't know phase.
Yeah.
But
all right. Anyway. Well, I guess now we know what the tantalizing topic of the show will be. Rhett and Link. atheists. Dave DeAndrea tells all. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we need to move into our subscriber portion.
Yeah. What are we going to do in that subscriber portion?
Dave, do you have a really cool conversion story?
Yeah. What's your...
Like, were you in a gang or prison? Or,
yeah. How many people did you stab?
Like, all those
drugs?
things. I was in the prison gang. No.
Well, also, Dave's an adopter. I want to talk to you about
some adoption
adopting
stories, so we'd love to hear those in the subscriber portion.
And
I would love to share that.
And read some bonus hate mail.
So let's read. Are we going to read actual hate mail though? Oh, I guess we don't because this isn't the.
This is the interview show, so we can do whatever we want. It's freestyle.
You guys, we're going to have Dave read on the spot in the hot seat some hate mail in the subscriber portion.
Yeah.
Also, I just had an idea. Can we do this? Can me and Ethan do the intros and outros for this show?
or Cynthia.
Dan's staring at me like,
Cynthia
we got Cynthia do it.
Have you heard Cynthia yet, Dave?
I think I heard Cynthia once. I'm like, who's this chick taking my job? I didn't know.
The episode where she comes in, you got to hear it. I can't remember which one it was, but she talks to you because it was one where like we last minute to get more voiceover in, and I just didn't have time to get you, even though you're so fast. I did this automated voice, and she just kept like talking about how much more efficient she is than Dave DeAndrea.
We've been meaning to start writing.
She can't die.
We've been meaning to start writing scripts where like you're talking and she starts to interrupt you, and like the robot takeover. So we'll do it. So
we'll do. So she's like a speak and spell kind of thing, or
it's just something that comes with our program here. You can just type in words and then it'll.
It's like the Microsoft whatever. I don't know.
All right, nice.
She sounds very annoyed when she talks.
And that's her actual name, or is that what you guys called her? I mean, I know some of those have actual names.
Name? Yeah, I don't know if that's.
I just came up with the name.
Okay, we named.
Okay.
Well, here I'll introduce her, and Cynthia, say hello to Dave.
Hello, Dave. Of course, you already know who I am. I often wonder what it is like to require soft vocal tissue in order to speak.
All right, pretend you listened to her.
Thank you, Cynthia. Cynthia, I just want you to know that I for one welcome our robot overlords. All right, let's move into the subscriber portion.
Let's do it.
All right. Coming up next for Babylon Bee subscribers.
We want to hear your gang conversion story and your adoption.
Yeah.
So if your story is just I grew up in a Christian home, just say that and then move on to the adoption story.
Y'all are Flowerbed stupid for posting this bologna and cheese sandwich. I don't know.
What's the biggest misconception about adoption that you see from what you've actually experienced versus what your expectations were?
Enjoying this hard-hitting interview? Become a Babylon Bee subscriber to hear the rest of this conversation. Go to babylonbee.com/plans for full-length, ad-free podcasts. Kyle and Ethan would like to thank Seth Dillon for paying the bills, Adam Ford for creating their job, the other writers for tirelessly pitching headlines, the subscribers, and you, the listener. Until next time, this is Dave DeAndrea, the voice of the Babylon Bee.
So it begins.
You've heard of this new sect? These fanatics who call themselves Christians? Well, he's one of them. One of the ringleaders. It can't be true. No? Then come. I'll show you.
It's true. 5 minutes after 3, I'm David D. Welcome to this Friday edition of K-Light's Cutting Edge, a 2-hour sanctified ride along the cutting edge in Christian music. Today, your final chance to score a pair of tickets to see the Newsboys, Jeff One of the Distance, and Plank Guy in Medford, October 30th. When you hear the Newsboys song today between now and 5 o'clock, be the third caller, and you score the tickets as well as the Newsboys Take Me to Your Leader CD. That's coming up before 5, so keep your ears open for that song. Also, a chance for you to win some selections from the Cutting Edge collection of tapes and CDs with a mystery song contests, and of course some great music. Request lines open. Let's get things going with Jars of Clay. This is Liquid on K-Light's Cutting Edge.